Episode 73 of the Monday Morning Worship Leader. Worship Headhunters.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures give His glory. Praise Him above the heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Hey there, it's Brother John. So good to be here with you today on this episode of the Monday Morning Worship Leader Podcast. Well, as I tell you almost every week, I am a worship leader. I'm a minister of worship at a Southern Baptist church in St. Louis, Missouri. I have been a worship pastor, minister of music, however you want to call it, in the free worship tradition for around 38 years, which is kind of unbelievable, but this has been something that I have done almost all my adult life, and I've enjoyed it so greatly. And I've seen things come and go. I've seen things change. And so this podcast hopefully will bring you, in a podcast like this, to be able to look back and to be able to look forward and to see what we need to do and how we address some of these issues. Before I get into it, I do want to address some of our new friends. We're having more podcast downloads up in Canada, especially British Columbia and Manitoba. Hey, thank you guys for downloading the podcast. And also, of course, in the UK and Ireland, we have podcast listeners there. Fairly consistent downloads across the way there in Ireland particularly. And so this topic, and I was thinking about my friends and my brothers and sisters overseas, because we deal with something in the free worship tradition that I want to talk to you about, and it's been somewhat of a new thing that has kind of come up on the horizon. You see, first of all, let me back up. This is Baptist, Southern Baptist, and other evangelicals, some Pentecostals. We are in part of a free worship tradition, and part of that, our autonomy is something that is big. We don't have like a big set of elders. We don't have a presbytery. We don't have a collection of bishops that tell us what to do. Instead, each church is autonomous. So what that does is that means the church takes care of its own business. And one of the businesses that a church has to take care of is staffing the church, bringing in especially called ministers to come in and do the work of the ministry. Instead of having assignments, what typically happens, at least in the Southern Baptist tradition, is that a committee is formed and they search for that next candidate. It is advertised in the different journals and things like that. They search for that candidate, and then once they find that candidate, they report that candidate back to the congregation, and through a set of circumstances, the congregation then votes on that candidate. Maybe the candidate preaches a day, maybe comes in, leads music a day, meets with the people. It varies on how that's handled, but ultimately they vote on the candidate. But this is a church thing. It's something that happens. Now, in that situation, especially in the 21st century, when we are striving to streamline communications and we're striving to even look at things I have to admit to you, as I discuss what the Southern Baptist Church does in filling this position, it does kind of model a corporate kind of atmosphere where just like in a job in a big corporation, you have a committee that finds that new person, brings them in, and all of that stuff. And so that's where we are. Now, there is something here in the United States that we call headhunters. And we got them in the church. We have them here in the United States for church work. And so let me describe what a headhunter is. A headhunter it's a term where a third party goes and they look for talent for the church. Now, headhunters, that does come from the corporate world, where if you can imagine a business, a corporation, hiring a third party to go and get somebody to fill a position, usually a higher up position. So that's what a headhunter does. And so now there are companies that service churches, and basically they serve as a third party. They bring in that person. The church doesn't have to form committees necessarily or anything like that. That person is brought in, and they take out a lot of the legwork. And for that, I mean, we can be somewhat thankful for the job that they do. But sometimes I just wonder if expedience is the most important thing in churches. It seems like sometimes when we move a little too fast, sometimes we move in a wrong direction. And so I'm not exactly slamming headhunting as far as finding church personnel, but I do have 5 concerns that I just wanted to share with you. And if you're in church leadership, hopefully you can maybe use this to share with your committee before you consider using a service like this. The first concern that I have is that it allows congregational laziness. There's just something about having the congregation do the work, having the congregation form the committee, having the committee sit down for hours and hours looking at resumes. There is something that is excruciating about that, but there's something that is necessary about that. It's almost like a rite of passage that the church needs to go through. If you take that away from them, that's just one more thing that the church doesn't have to do. And I think sometimes the church needs to be doing some things for the church. So number 1, allowing congregational laziness. And along with that, the next one is you're bypassing the journey. I think there's a journey to be had for the committee, for the church, for all that are involved in something like this. It's a journey that is sometimes necessary. Friendships are formed. Relationships are strengthened. We find out a lot about each other. We find out a lot about our church going through the journey and the church doing it itself. It's a DIY thing, and it's something that the church can be very good at. So bypassing the journey is the second one. Bypassing the search is the third one. You know, there is something about having to go through a search committee that matures people and matures believers. I remember I had a search committee one time where there were teenagers on that search committee, and they were serving as part of the committee because they were members of the church and because they were also members of the worship ministry. And so they wanted to be on it, and so they were, and it was good for them because they got to see the church at work. And so when we bypass the search, we bypass their opportunity to serve. And then another one, the fourth one, is sometimes we're doing this outside of the church family, doing the function of the church. We're bypassing the very function of this organism, the church, in bringing on its own person by bringing a third party in on this. We're saying to the third party, you know what, you have more resources, you're smarter about this than we are. Well, you know what, we need to be smart about this. We need to resource ourselves. We need to know how to handle our people. And so this is a very, very good opportunity to do it ourselves and to bring in people and to understand the human resources that are necessary to not only bring in, but to keep and strengthen your church ministry staff members. But finally, and I think the biggest thing and the biggest concern that I have is that it blends corporate America with the church. It's just one more step into the world, if you will. And, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. And even though I have some cautions that I brought up, but the one thing that I don't want us to pattern as a church is the world. I think that we are set apart. And so I don't know that I'm thrilled about using the world standards to find people for the church. And so the fifth and final and my biggest one is blending corporate America with the church. So your church may still choose to use an agency to find a ministry staff position. And God bless you if you do. I have some, again, as you've heard, I have some concerns about this new movement that has occurred in Southern Baptist life, in the life of evangelical churches, any autonomous church. And so I just want the church to be the church. And I hope you find those to be good words. Well, going along with the headhunting theme, here's another one for you. This book is great. It's called Tribes. And Tribes is written by Seth Godin, and it's been around for about 15 years. And really, it is written on a secular point of view, but what I do like about this book is that it talks about bringing people around you and how you do that. And you form small tribes that, while he's not talking directly about ministry, can boost your ministry. So I highly recommend it. Tribes by Seth Godin. And that's it for the Monday Morning Worship Leader. I hope you have a great week. May God bless you in all that you're doing. And remember, my friends, we are not rock stars. We are servants. I'll see you later. Okay, one of the first worship wars was against Pharaoh and Moses. Let's talk about it.
Next time on the podcast.